Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a 6-game Major League Baseball slate for you. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? It helps the channel a lot. I really do appreciate it. This slate does start early at 12:05, so to keep that in mind, it's about an hour from now. We do have a little bit of a weather concern in that first game, but hopefully we get the clear on that. It should be fine as far as I can tell at this point. So I think it should be fine. So I think that's a game we can definitely target today. But let's go and get into the slate because it is pretty speedy slate here. So we do have 3 core plays in Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, and Kim for San Diego. San Diego looks really solid today. The top 3 teams to stack: Texas, Baltimore, and San Diego on the slate. Looking at the pitchers today, we have 2 top tier pitchers, being Corbin Burnes in the case. So Burnes has got a great match against Miami. Now he's been good most of the season. Easiest matchup here and a decent K rate for the slate, though he doesn't have the highest K rate. That actually falls to Case here for San Diego, as he does draw some very good strikeout metrics for this game against the Nationals. Keep in mind this game could have some rain in it, so that doesn't make him a must play, but his K rate is best on the slate, and he's definitely a nice play on this one. And he's just $200 more expensive than Bradley, who is the GPP play today. He's higher ceiling than you would think, but he is a very good contrarian play on the slate. He's good enough to be the P1 if you want to do that, but he will be lower on GPP plays. Scherzer for Texas. His K rate has really not been great so far since he's been back, but he does have a good matchup against the White Sox. So he's definitely a capable option today. We'll also look at Williams for Cleveland being a pretty interesting play on the slate, despite the fact that he has not pitched very many games and only had one decent game. That one decent game was against Detroit, and he had 5 strikeouts in that one, which is enough to be a viable choice. Here, but he is kind of a Hail Mary play. Same for Logan Webb, also kind of a Hail Mary play against the Dodgers. He's had 3 games against the Dodgers. 2 of them he did pretty well, though, so he's definitely capable of that. I forgot to mention Chris Bassett here as a extreme GPP option. He hasn't been as good as others on the slate usually lately, but he has upside against Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay can be inconsistent this season, though his K rate is the lowest of the guys I've mentioned. The other one guy to consider today is Kershaw, but he has a tough situation as he's coming back from injury this season. This will be his first game. He will probably be on a pitch limit, so he's probably not somebody you really want to utilize too much, but he's definitely a capable option on in general. The top 4 plays for the slate: Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Kim for San Diego, and then Vlade Jr. for Toronto. Looking at our catchers here, Danny Jansen is in play today for Toronto, as he's got a pretty good matchup metric here. He has pretty much struggled, with the exception when he hits home runs, though, but that home run upside today is there, so he's definitely worth a look. But I do like Campusino a lot today. He's nice and cheap. He's got home run metrics, not as good as Jansen, but he's a good hitter for this particular game. He's got a good situation, and I do like San Diego in general as a stackable team. Ownership there will be Campusino, but Ben Warvitt, Jonah Heim, Danny Jansen, James McCann be the low-owned upside guys. Looking at first base, though, we do like Otani as a top overall play, though he's extremely expensive. He's going to be hard to roster today, but he's been fantastic lately. Looking at Vlade Jr., I do like him a lot. He can play first or third base. He's been on a tear lately with the home runs, and I look for that to continue here. Definitely like his price point for the matchup here. Looking at Nate Lowe as a good value play at $3,600 for Texas. I do think Texas is a very stackable team. They were really good yesterday. He didn't do anything yesterday, but he looks really solid today from a home run perspective, so he's definitely worth checking out here. Brian O'Hearn, also for Baltimore, absolutely fantastic option on the slate, and he's definitely somebody that you can be contrarian with, but Baltimore does project well. Ryan O'Hearn and Nate Lowe are going to be the top owned options on the slate, but you could also look at Mountcastle, Vlade Jr., Cronenworth, etc. Looking at second base, Xander Bogaerts does jump off the page as the top overall play, not only because of his potential today for get some hits, but because he's value play and cheaper than Marcus Semien, who's probably the other guy that you would consider at this position. For Texas, he's been fantastic lately, though, and he's got some nice hitting metrics and home run upside today. Brandon Lowe is the contrarian option here as well. for Tampa Bay. He has some good hitting metrics, but he's high risk, high reward as he's been hitting the ball very well lately. He will be owned a lot. Xander will be as well. Westberg, Justin Bosque also a value play here for this game. So if he gets in the starting lineup. Looking at third base, we do like Manny Machado here as well, as he has been hitting the ball pretty well as of late, even though he's had some inconsistencies with the strikeouts. He does have home run metrics today, and San Diego definitely looks solid. Vlade Jr. can play here as well, but Jose Ramirez is an expensive play for Cleveland, but he is in play today as he's got that home run potential today. Matt Chapman and Donovan Solano also available at this position as good value plays. Looking at the ownership here, Machado, Westberg, and Ramirez going to be top overall there. Looking at shortstops, Corey Seager does come off as a great play today, though he's fairly expensive and he's going to be somewhat hard to roster. I do like Kem better just because he's a nice value play and he's got good hitting metrics today as well as some, limited home run upside. But, other than paying expensive for Henderson or Abrams, you probably want to go with either Seager or Heim there, even though Henderson will likely be the top owned player on the slate. You could also look at Jose Caballero as kind of a, contrarian option. Looking at outfielders, Ohtani is the top overall option out here as well, but he can play at first base, but he's going to be hard to roster at this price point. Meanwhile, Josh Lowe does come into play as a decent option today. He does have good hitting metrics and some home run upside, despite the fact he's not a big home run hitter. He definitely has good metrics for this game, and it's definitely worth a look. Jerickson Profar, a little bit pricier than I'd like him to be, but if you go with the San Diego stack, he's definitely one of the guys I would consider. The San Diego stack would add the three guys I have here with Profar and Campusino at catcher. And then Adolis Garcia for Texas. He was a absolutely top tier play yesterday. He managed 12 fantasy points yesterday, and he looks pretty solid again today, so he's definitely worth a look here. Jazz Chisholm Jr., George Springer, and Jorge Soler are contrarian plays, and two cheap options, Janotsky Noel for Cleveland and Bryce Johnson for San Diego. Top ownership at the outfield will be in Santander, Profar, Josh Lowe, Colton Cowser, Wyatt Langford, Angel Martinez, Richie Palacios, and Adolis Garcia. I was going to do real quick the night slate here. This is the Atlanta, New York Mets, Oakland, LA Angels games. Chris Sale is the core play for pitcher, as look at the rest of the three options. We got Severino against Atlanta, Stripling, who's coming off the injured list, and then Rosenberg, who really hasn't done much yet as a starter for this Angels team. So I think the Sale is definitely a top play, and then kind of just figure out whoever you like the best here. Maybe Severino or Rosenberg, honestly, had the most upside there. But if we look at the catchers, if we look at the teams here, then we'll go player team to team here. So Shea Langerlays does look at like the best overall catcher on the slate, but Logan O'Hoppe is close second. So either one of these two guys, if you use Rosenberg, then I definitely would try to avoid the Oakland players. But honestly, I like them a lot. One thing you can definitely do is just do this with the pitchers and then stack up that Oakland LA Angels game. I can't believe stacking up Oakland and LA Angels when there's Atlanta New York Mets on this thing, but that's kind of what this slate looks like. And Langerlays definitely fits in nicely here. Or you could just do the one-off with Langerlays and do this with Rosenberg and then or switch off to Logan O'Hoppe. There's a lot of different ways you can kind of play this here at the top. So looking at first base, Matt Olson and Pete Alonso, the top overall plays. I don't think there's too much to like below them. And so I think even if you use both the pitchers from that game, Matt Olson does come off with core play metrics, so he's definitely worth a consideration there. Second base is absolutely atrocious. Luis Rengifo and Zach Geloff are the only two guys that I even project decently at all, but unfortunately, their metrics are not that great, so I don't really think either one of them are must plays. So you could punt second base here. Tyler Nevin is a nice little cheap value play here at third base. You can also throw him in the outfield, but he's dirt cheap today and has good metrics. If he draws a start, even though he definitely hasn't been particularly great, he's nice and cheap, helps you pay up at other positions, so you can fit him in there. Looking at shortstops, Lindor has been absolutely fantastic lately for the Mets. I think he's a really solid option today as well. But if you want to stay away from the Mets and the Atlanta teams there with Chris Sale being there, Lindor may struggle today. You could go to Zach Neto or even go cheaper to Schuerman for Oakland, as they both have some viable potential today. Looking at outfielders, Brent Rooker, Taylor Ward, Miguel Andujar, and Tyler Nevin in the top four, and then some contrarian options: Joe Adele, Marcel Ozuna, Jerry Kalenic, Mickey Maniac, and Daz Cameron. So with that said, guys,